Hi, this is a quick review of my Saab 97X. I got this SUV truck um, just about when COVID started. I remember going to the seller and I probably got a better deal for this car because he was just trying to get rid of it at that time. It was a resale. I think they probably got it from an auction. I saw it online. I kind of liked it. Went over, looked good. Did the Carfax on it. It was like a two owner, but it was a full service history. Looked really, really well kept. The only problem it had at the time was it seemed as if the axle had been, well, the drive axle had been taken out. I do not know why. What I noticed that when I put it in gear and drive, it had a slight jump, and the forward drive was not working. So I sourced drive axle on eBay, put it back in. My thinking was probably the four-wheel drive was maybe inoperable and not working, but put the drive axle back in, and the four-wheel drive uh, ended up being great. So yeah, this well, all-wheel drive. Keep saying four-wheel drive. Uh, this is a body on frame truck, meaning that it does have a truckish ride. Um, it is a bit of an oddity in the sense that, as you can see, it's got the Saab emblem. So it's badged as a Saab, but the bones of this car are all GM General Motors. This is a, for one, to all purposes, it's a rebadged Chevy Trailblazer, uh, more like an upscale one. This was when GM was, doing its I guess, experimentation with different car makers, seeing what worked and what didn't work. This is one of those experiments, and I'm going to give you my impressions on whether I think it worked or not. Um, I got it because it just looked interesting. It was a Saab. I'd never seen a Saab in this shape form before, and I, kind of wanted to figure out what it was all about, and it was at a price that was affordable. I wanted some kind of an SUV at the time. Anyway, so let's get into the nuts and bolts. Two engine types came with the 97X. One was a 5.3 eight-cylinder uh, motor, and one was a 4.2 inline, which most of the Chevy Trailblazers had. Um, the V8 also had a super special one called the Saab 97 Aero, which was similar to the Chevy SS. So like a beefed up version of the V8, really fast. Those ones are they're really really hard to find, and when you do find them, you got to be careful because they've either been just abused or very well kept. So if you're getting the Aero version of this, it's a rare car. Um, Definitely something to have. However, you do want to be careful and make sure that when you're getting it, it's kind of well checked out. You can see this. I have a little bit of a, body imperfection here. I never bothered to get it fixed because I just didn't think it was worth it. Otherwise, the body of this car, I've kept it well. Mostly, in my care, it's been mostly garage kept, and so the paintwork has been pretty good. There was when I checked it out for rust, there was no real rust except for, I'll show you guys this, except for the hitch, the tow hitch here. Um, this part here had a fair bit of surface rust, which, you can see the chips some out there. At some point, I did put some Rust-Oleum on it, but that didn't really work that much. But It's mostly surface rust, so not really, nothing really. It's got the 97X badge here. One other issue I've had with this car recently is the tail, the license bulb lights have not been working. And from my research, a lot of it is based on the wiring. A lot of the wiring comes through here. The almost can't open that, but this part here, there's wiring that goes through here to the back of this tail, and it impacts the tail bulb lights. It also impacts the wiper as well. So right now, this is not working um, because of some faulty wiring. I think it's just an engineering, well, electrical, badly designed electricals, in my opinion. Let's take a look on the inside. So, the car is quite well appointed in the sense that it's got, you know, it's a pretty big steering wheel. Um, it's got really, really nice leather. You can see some GM, typical GM traits with the seat belts going through this thingamajig here. It's got some nice, the leather stitching is really, really nice. You can see the build quality. I put it at a B plus. There's no real rattling or shaking. It does have a Bose stereo system, which is pretty good. Another thing that's happened with me is my center blower doesn't work anymore, and that's quite common with these cars. So you got to watch out for that as well. They do not have any kind of a decent cup holder. This I hardly use because it just feels like it's going to fall apart any second. And there's one attempt at a cup holder here, which is no good. There's two ports here for your cigarette lighter, um, charger, whatever. And how could you not have this? The keys in the middle. So I guess they wanted to sort of make it distinctively Saab. But yeah, like I said, the leather, at least in my car, this car has held up well. But we really don't use this that much. So back seats, I've got some junk at the back, but the back leather is pretty good as well. Um, I started trying to fix the electricals at the back. I went halfway and stopped. I'll get back to that. But this car is actually for sale now. I've got it up for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but mostly we don't need it anymore. And we figured there's no point keeping it, you know, whereas we don't need it. It's also fairly gas heavy in terms of gas consumption. Um, Let me show you guys the engine bay. One other thing that does go wrong with this car is the fuel gauge. It's quite common with the GMT 360. Um, GMT 360 is the Trailblazers. This car against I think the Bravada, they all have the same powertrain, engines, you know. But anyway, so yes, the fuel gauge can go bad, and when it does, it's a pain. When this one went, I had to take down the fuel tank, but then someone else was able to fix it for me, and I haven't had any problems since. But I do know that it's a common complaint. One of the great things about this car, I think the best thing about this car is this engine. Is GM's Vortec 4200 inline six-cylinder. So it's not a V6, but it's an inline. And this power plant is just excellent. Excellent. Generates good power, is relatively reliable, does not have a timing belt, but has a timing chain. And it's just an excellent, excellent engine. To me, one of the reasons why I've kept this car is because of this engine. I think it's one of GM's forgotten masterpieces. I'll go as far as say that. I mean, the only downside with it is thirsty. It's you could. I'm doing 16.7 miles to the gallon in town. I think if I'm on a highway, could probably push it to 18, 19. So it's not the most frugal of engines, but it's a smooth engine. It's relatively quick, for a heavy car like this. It moves it along at a nice pace. It's quiet, fairly quiet, once it's up and running. It's a big engine, as you can see, as most inline sixes are. But yeah, I don't have any complaints about the engine. Transmission, that's another thing. Luckily, with this one that I've had, has been pretty good. The trans has held out. I now have 177,000 miles on this car. When I got it at 130 something thousand miles. So it's held up. I've done what I think is good maintenance. I do my regular oil changes. I change. This car comes originally with the manufacturer with gas struts. So it's a self-leveling, which makes the ride very, very nice. I just didn't want those complications. So as soon as I got it, I changed it to Monroe regular struts. And so far, so good. I'm satisfied with the ride that they've given me so far. It's got the typical GM antenna here. Um, I'm gonna start her up in a few, and you guys can kind of see what she sounds like. All right, I'm not gonna drive her today. Let's start her up, and she starts up easy, really, really good. All right, so back to the Saab. Ignition on. Good thing with this that I found that you don't have to turn it and hold it. You can just turn and let it go, and it starts. So I'm gonna do that. There. So you turn, let it go, and it starts itself. You can hear a little fan belt screech there. Serpentine belt. I need to change the serpentine belt. I do have a check engine light on. And when I do the OBD scanner, what it tells me is that my idle control valve, IAC, is low. Now, this is another problem I've had with this car. For most of the time that I've had it, the idle has always been a little lower than I expect. I don't know why. It did improve recently when I changed the battery to a higher output battery. So I suspect that at some point I was using a battery that was not meant to be for this car, and so I kind of upped the battery grade a little bit, and that did help. So as you can see, my gas gauge is now working. It's got these, yeah, it does have these digital information here. It's telling me the driver door's ajar. Another warning sign that comes up when I start driving this car is I get the stability track warning. I have been told that it's a stability track and the ABS light that comes on. I've been told that 9 times out of 10, if you replace the hubcaps, the wheel bearing on these cars, that takes that away. So I haven't tried that. I don't know if that's the problem or not. Radio stereo works very well. It's a Bose system. I tend to find that with Bose, it's either hit or miss. I would put this at a 6 out of 10. I'm an audio guy, so if it's not perfect, it's got to be just right. With this car, the acoustics don't allow the Bose to shine as much as it should, and but that's just my opinion. But it's workable, it's usable. Sunroof, no leaks on this one, works perfect. It's one touch, open, Um, then you gotta hold it to close it all the way back. But it works really, really well. The car is well appointed because it's I guess Saab would be, with it being if it was a Trailblazer, you'd have the option with cloth seats and probably not all the wood. This is not real wood, but but with the Saab you do get a fairly upscale interior. And when this car came out, it was priced at about I think maybe close to 46, 47,000. This was not a this was a high end. This was on the high end of Chevy's, GM's offerings at the time. Let's take a look at the engine. One touch, auto windows goes down. That's my trusty Odyssey. I've had to change these hood struts maybe once. Fan belt screech, that's what that is. Yeah, but as you can see, the motor runs excellent. Oh, I've had to change the water pump on this once, and I had to change the starter on this once. So in the 4 years that I've had this car, that's pretty much all that I've had to do in terms of maintenance on it. The transmission felt a bit iffy when I got it. I did a drain and fill with the fluid, and I added Lucas transmission additive, which I think really has helped keep it going, because ever so often I do feel a slight clunk here and there, but otherwise the car runs good. So I don't know if there's much to say about this. Well, here's my verdict. The 97X is a decent enough car. I just think it doesn't go, this is a 2006, by the way. It doesn't really go that far to make it stand out from the rest of the offerings. I just feel like GM said, in a rush, let's just put something together, make it work, and slap the Saab badge on it and see what happens. And that just seems to me is what this car was all about. And I think, the fan just came on. I think that's why this car didn't sell in huge numbers. That's, because and the good thing with that is it's a rare car. The resale value is not that great. These things, you can get them for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Depends on how well kept they are. Who knows? They may become more of a collector's item as the years go by. I don't know. But yeah, there you go. That's Saab 97X. Beautiful looking car. This color is probably my favorite. I'll give you guys a pan from afar. Looks good. All right, Michael, Saab 97X 2006.